Hey guys, what's going on? It's your host Tricky One here bringing you a tournament report from the ROC Super Qualifier that Jen and I went to this weekend. As you can tell by the hat, I did actually get top 8, and as did Jen, and I actually managed to win. So I am now a ROC Super Qualifier champion. That makes me pretty happy. So I'm going to go ahead and go over the team. I'm going to go over some of my matchups, choices I made, and why. And I'll be back in a second.
First off, let's go ahead and show you guys the team. The format was Modern Limited 400 points. I ran the following. Nick Balls of Fury at 120, Nighthawk Prime at 65, Mr. Mitzelplix at 70, Mercury and Doc Magnus both at 25, Copycat at 90, and the Pym Particles at 2 points, giving me a total of 397 points. My sideline also consisted of all the Shifting Focus Superman and Batman. Now, I want to give a quick explanation of why I ran what I ran. Nick Fury is one of the strongest pieces in the game at the moment. I've played him like crazy from the moment the set came out, and if you don't know what he does, he has traded Shape Change, a white box damage power that gives him prob with the ability to say your opponent can't use a power. This gets around powers that can't be countered or ignored just because it says they cannot use it. He also has a trait that gives him +1 attack and damage, as well as penetrating damage when he attacks the highest point opposing character. Now, once you kill their highest point one, whatever their next highest point piece is then their new highest point character. Now, Nighthawk Prime has a trait that prevents your opponent from increasing their stats unless they are adjacent to Nighthawk. He also has ESD and Shape Change, and the Shape Change roll increases by 1 for each friendly adjacent next to him. So, for instance, if there's 2 friendlies next to him, he would succeed on a 3, 4, 5, or 6 for his Shape Change roll. He also starts Top Dial, Sidestep, 10 attack, and 3 damage with Outwit. Now, Mr. Mitzelplix starts the game by rolling a die and putting it on his card. Anytime that dice are rolled, he can swap one of the d6 for the die on his card. And then you can give him a power action to roll a new die and put it on his card if he doesn't have one. He also has quite a few white box powers. On the first click, he has on his first click, if he has 2 action tokens, he can use Phasing Teleport as a free action. On his even clicks, he has a Pulse Wave that doesn't do damage but gives up to 2 action tokens instead, and can make other friendlies Tyrant, Giant, etc. for the turn. Mercury is a Metal Man. He's the cheapest TK in the game right now at 25 points, and if someone else with the Metalman keyword is within 3 squares of him, he gets Sidestep and a +1 to his Super Senses roll. Doc Magnus is also a Metal Man. He has the keyword because he's actually the one that invented them. He has Support, and if a Metal Man is within 3, he gets to increase the healing done by 1. What this means is since support heals a minimum of 1, he will always heal at least a minimum of 2 if he can make the attack. He also grants the Metalman the carry ability, but only to carry him, and he also gets the ability to sidestep if he's within 3 of 1. And Copycat was definitely the MVP for this tournament. What she does is before the characters are ever placed in the starting area, she can take a character of 100 points or less from your opponent's team and put them in your starting area. Then she goes in theirs and you swap owners for the game. Your Copycat becomes their piece and their piece becomes yours. The way to end this effect is for Copycat to either miss a roll for Shape Change, roll for Regen, or die. This piece is why I had the sideline of all the Superman and Batman. That way, if I swapped out for one, I could Shifting Focus and have access to their full power. Now that I think about it, though, I did have room for more sideboard. I probably should have at least put like a Hank Pym or an Ant-Man variant to be able to create the ants. Finally, I had 5 points left over, and I decided to run the Pym Particles. At the beginning of the game, you pick Tiny or Giant, and when someone equips them, they become that. Their sole purpose was to make Nick Fury tiny. Round 1 was against a Nick Fury, Kingdom Come Shazam at the lower points, Blackout, and one other piece I really just can't remember. I ended up taking his blackout with the copycat for the flight and the free action blocking terrain, and ended up sweeping his entire team. But I saved copycat for last and killed her after turning shape change off with Nick, and that caused blackout to be his piece again, and I killed that. So round one, I killed everything, didn't give them any points, and ended up winning 490 points. Round two, I was also against the Nick Fury, but this time it was like a shield theme team. It was the Fitz that brings in Henry, Nick Fury, the Hulk that came in Nick Fury, the shield guy that gives Mastermind to other shield like Nick. I think it's Alexander Pierce. Jimmy Woo, just like a bunch of little shield pieces like that. I ended up stealing his Hulk and giving him the copycat. And thanks to Nighthawk Prime, he didn't get any of his bonuses from the shield team ability. He couldn't get the bonus range or damage. So I was able to keep my Fury 10 squares away, and while his was 9, to where I was able to shoot at him and he had to waste actions to be able to move and get back into position. Basically, the same thing happened as last game. I saved Copycat for the last, killed her, killed off his Hulk, and once again I scored 490 points and they scored 0. And I'm 2-0 at this point. Now, round 3 was a different story. This was a team of Zombie Super Scroll, Copycat, Mr. Mixelplick, Despotalis, and I lost hard. I killed that zombie like 4 times and it just kept coming back. Because it would pop in and it would just poison my whole team. And since my team didn't really have any reducers as far as defense went, they were able to instantly get all of the hunger tokens right back, and there you go. Now, what saved me was Mr. Mixelplick. He was my last piece on board, and my opponent got greedy, and they pushed themselves to their last click to hit him. They missed, and when they rolled for the trait for picking too many powers, they ended up rolling a 4, and he ended up killing himself. So, he finished me next turn, but I got 170 points at least. So he got his 400, and I got the 170. So now I'm 2-1. So now I'm a little worried, because it's 4 rounds of Swiss, and then they're going to cut to top. I was like, as long as I do decent next round, I should be fine. But obviously I want to win to secure my spot. Round 4 was the last round before the lunch break we went on. And honestly, it wasn't very fair for my opponent. I want to put that out there. He ran a piece, I can't remember if it's like Thanos or what it is. It's the one that can do the support until he does his free action pulse wave power, and then he can't use support anymore. He ran Justin Seifert and Metallo from World's Finest, and a Hank Pym at 50. I stole his Justin with Copycat just so I didn't have to deal with the whole letting him move for free and attack shenanigans. I just didn't want to have to deal with all of that. And we ended up playing on the Johnny the Street map, the new one from World's Finest. The map requires you to roll a die, and depending on how you roll, 1 or 2 or 3 or 4, you can either only move diagonally or only move horizontally and vertically. And if you roll a 5 or 6, then you can just ignore the map. But what ended up happening was I was able to position to kill his Metallo pretty quickly, but he wasn't ever able to return fire back at me. He started on top of a building, and he kept rolling 1 or 2, which trapped him only being able to go diagonally. So he couldn't walk up or down the stairs, because you have to go horizontally or vertically to get down the ladders. So he kept trying to figure out a way to TK with his Hank Pym so that he could still attack and not just be in the open if he carried him out there. And he just stayed in the back for quite a while trying to figure that out. But he really just couldn't find a good positioning. Now, he did roll a 5 or 6 twice during the game, but when he did, I had a 1 or 2 on Mixelplix's card, and I swapped it for that. Because the map doesn't say it can't be re-rolled, and Mixelplix says when die are rolled. It doesn't say it has to be for an attack or by a character, for that matter. So I know it was kind of mean, but I had already gotten points, I needed the win, so I just let him stay trapped on the building. Finally, right at the end of the game, he gave up on the whole TK thing and switched to the flying Hank Pym, which is Wasp, I believe. And he carried his guy out there. But by then, last action was just about to get called. He wasn't able to do anything, and so he ended up losing. I got 150 points. He got 0. Ended Swiss 3-1 and guaranteed my top 16. Now, the chart you're looking at is the chart for the top 16, the bracket. Um, Top 16 or round 5 is when obviously it starts getting to be crunch time. Like, this is where you win, you start winning a bunch of prizes. You lose, sure, you top 16, but you didn't get all the cool swag. Um, Now, this team, honestly, I was perfectly okay against. It was a Mary Marvel from World's Finest, Zatara from World's Finest, Question from the Trinity team base itself, and one other like 50-point piece that I really can't remember. Or it might have been like Harley Quinn or something. I really don't know. But anyways, I stole his Zatara with the copycat and played it the just normal way to where it starts with the TK. Because then I had a TK yo-yo between Mercury and Zatara. I two-shot Mary Marvel, cleaned out his team in about like 15 minutes. He got really upset and just forfeit, wouldn't let me get my 90 points again, and wouldn't let me stop hearing it for the rest of the tournament. But that's besides the point. I ended up winning that one pretty quick, so I was happy. I at least was going to make top 8 and get the mat, the hat, stuff like that. Pretty good start to my 2016 season. Now, top 8 or round 6 is where I got to try to avenge my round 3. I'm not against the same team, but I still get to fight a zombie Super Scroll. This time it was Zombie Super Scroll, Nick Fury, Copycat, and Henry, the monkey that Fitz can drop. I made the wrong play because I just didn't really know how Copycat worked when it was on your own team. I really hadn't practiced much. I know you're always supposed to practice, but I really just like made the team and went. So I went ahead and won map roll, but I let him choose first. That way he would copycat first, and whatever he would copycat, I would just end up copycatting back and taking it back. They chose not to copycat, and I went ahead and still copycatted into their Henry just to try to give Nick Fury the extra damage he would need to finish them off. But that was kind of a mistake because it gave them a phasing teleporter, and they also were running the Pym Particles, so Fury had a lot of mobility for their team. Uh, Eventually, I did pull it out though. The big play that won it for me was I was doing a lot of pot shots here and there, trying to do what I could, and I kind of boxed myself into this very narrow space on the map we were playing on, and he brought his entire team into there. Like his Super Scroll, both copycats, the Henry, everything was all there. Uh, so what I did was on my turn, I went ahead and I pushed Mr. Mistleplick because he was on click 2 to do the pulse wave power. And I rolled a 3, like I rolled a 1 and a 2, so I wasn't going to hit anybody. But I had a 4 on his card, and since I couldn't prob it with my Nick Fury because my Nick Fury was in the range of the pulse wave, I went ahead and just swapped it, and I ended up being able to hit Zombie Super Scroll, his 2 copycats, and I missed his Nick Fury. But in doing that, I was able to do a click of damage to each of the copycats, and the Super Scroll was actually on its last click, so I was able to force it to take pushing damage and kill itself. I then went ahead and purposely took the pushing damage from Mitzelplix to get me back to the free phasing. And like I said, Nick Fury was pretty much always going to be tiny. With the Pym Particles, I just phasing and carried Nick Fury out of there. The game kept going on for a while, and eventually I ultimately won. So now I am 5-1 at the end of round 6. That's top 8. So now I get to make it into top 4. This round was stressful, but Copycat shined, as did my idea for running those shifting focuses on the sideboard. The enemy was running the Mystics Kryptonian team. I don't know if y'all have seen that or not. It's basically you run KC Spectre, Kingdom Come Spectre at the lower points. Laura, which is Supergirl's mom, at her lower points just for her trait that she can give a team ability to all Kryptonians. And you give it to you give them the Mystics from Spectre. Uh, They also had Streaky, Superman Blue at the lower points, and 2 Shifting Focus Superman. I lost the map roll, and he chose the indoor map from War of Light that everyone always chooses against Nick Fury. It has the ton of indoor blocking terrain and like the squares that do damage based on your action tokens and everything. Uh, so I knew I was gonna have to copycat into his Shifting Focus Superman to give my Nick Fury a chance. So what I did was I stole it, shifted into the Super Strength one that can break blocking as he runs through it, used it to line up a shot and took out Spectre in one hit. That way I would only take 1 Mystic damage instead of constantly dealing with Mystic and Prob all game. Um, he kept my copycat on that square that does the damage though, and kept just pushing her and letting her take the damage based on action tokens in that square. Basically, he was trying to tick her down to regen. Um, After I killed off his Spectre, he ran in with everything he had to try to kill off his own Superman, but I managed to escape with like 1 click of health left, and I just left him in the back. I almost decided to heal him with Doc Magnus and go back in, but I was afraid that since he was working on getting Copycat down to regen, I would just be healing a piece back for him, and then he would turn around and hit me from behind. So I just left it alone and kept chasing him around the map. He killed my Copycat, or well, he got it to regen, turned off the power, and then he actually turned around and killed the Copycat and my Mercury. So then that other Superman was his again, and so I went ahead and took that out with Nighthawk, and it just became a running around game trying to shoot and kill each other. I killed his Superman Blue and his Spectre and his Superman, but he killed my Copycat, my Mercury, and I think that was it. So he couldn't just run away, and I realized that because I had him on points. He eventually was going to have to come to me, and the moment he did, I was able to just sweep out the rest of his team. And so I won. My shape changes and probs were really handy during that game, but I cleaned him out. So now I'm 6-1, sitting at top 4, so now we get to go on to the top 2. This is my second time being in top 2 at this location for Super Qualifiers. The first time I got second and was crushed, so I was like, this is my redemption round. I really have to try to win this. The last round I won was, honestly, it was a mixture of luck and skill. I will throw that out there. Luck was on my side a bit for the beginning of it. After that initial luck, though, is when it just came down to who was able to position better and get the right hits. So what happened was the enemy's team was the new LE Dr. Octopus, Peggy Carter Prime, 2 Clarion the Witch Boy. It's a Legion of Superheroes character that I don't really know what he is. He looks like a dude sitting on a tray with crab hands. I don't know. But for the sake of this video, I'm just going to call him Krabby. And he had the World's Finest Fast Forces Nightwing at 25 points, and the KC Spectre at the low points also. And I made the mistake that I preach to people all the time. I didn't read the card, and not reading the cards almost cost me the game before it ever started. First off, I went ahead and took his Clarion with Copycat, because dealing with 2 Clarions and Teagles and Mystics, I just didn't want to have to deal with all that. And taking one with that was able to give me 2 pieces of 1, basically, the Teagle and the Clarion. I kind of got into position, I equipped stuff, just like was kind of just edging around the map, trying to get into position. And he did an amazing play. That's what his team does. He gave Dr. Octopus the power action to do his tentacle counters thing. He said shape change with Peggy Carter, and used the Outsiders team ability on Krabby, to where he wouldn't reduce any of his range or his movement when he tries to carry, and Krabby gets to carry up to 4 of his people up. So he just drops his entire team on my Nick Fury. He then got to do, before he carried, he did the power action to do the tentacle thing with Doc Ock, and he gave him the free action once he was next to me to get to do 2 flurries, so 4 attacks with a locked value of 3 damage. I used all of my probs, all of my Mitzelplick die. Like, I was trying to stop everything I could with that first attack. but he also had to use all of his probs. He did outwit my toughness though, and he did manage to hit with the first attack for 3, but that put me on combat reflexes, so ultimately I ended up going up in defense for the rest of the attacks. And he wasn't able to hit any of the other 3 attacks that were part of his double flurry. He dropped Tickle with his Clarion, and Tickle crit missed, so his Tickle was out of the picture. And so that was awesome. And so what I ended up doing was, once his turn was over and he wasn't able to just Alpha Strike the hell out of Nick Fury like he was trying to, I got Mitzelflix in there and carried Nick the hell out of there, get out of dodge. I think what I ended up doing was I attacked with Nick first onto Doc Ock, got him down, and then I pushed to TK Nighthawk to the other end of the roof. Like we were on the Johnny the Street map and we were fighting on different edges of the roofs. And I outwitted him and shot him and ended up killing off Doc Ock with Nighthawk. I also was using my cat with my Clarion, and it ended up dying next turn, so that didn't really matter. But that was the luck part, was the fact that he missed those 4 attacks right at the beginning, because I had like an 18 or a 19 defense, and it let me stay in the game. So after that, we just kind of were dancing all around, taking pot shots at each other. It's like I killed off his Peggy and Krabby, but then his Clarion and Copycat and Nightwing and Spectre were all still alive. Copycat was getting prob, and he was still trying for a while. But ultimately, what kind of cinched the deal was I got my Nick Fury back down to Doc Magnus, and I healed with support, and I healed him all the way back up to full. And at that point, he realized he wasn't going to be able to fight off my team with what he had left, and he ended up forfeiting. So that was Championship 1. I got my first Super Qualifier ROC win. Made me extremely happy. I got the top 8 hat, the trophy, the invite, the mat, all that awesome stuff. Got some LEs. If there's anything I would change about the team, like I said, it's just with the sideline. I think the team I built was really, really strong for the format that I was going into. I think I read the meta pretty well, being able to take things with Copycat, and there actually were quite a few Copycats. And Jen also ran this exact same team. Like I built 2 of it so that we could both play, and she topped 8 with it too. So I'd say it definitely did work. But once again, thank you guys for listening in to my tournament report. I know this video got kind of long, but if you have any questions, comments, feel free to like, comment, subscribe. I'll respond to any questions I can. I'm going to post this on Reddit and a few other pages. That way it kind of gets out there. So feel free to either just message me on there or just message me through YouTube if you want any other more details or anything about the tournament. Once again, thank you guys for watching, and Tricky1 out.